to this very special Renewal Assembly. This assembly is a retreat. It's longer and it's deeper, and it's designed to celebrate and encourage our church lay leaders, vestry members, wardens, and those preparing for that ministry. So we're grateful to all those who've helped us get this day going, and we're also grateful to you for coming. I hope it blesses you richly. I have two guests this morning to help get our conversation started. I'll introduce the first one to you now, and he is Mr. Raymond Acario. Ray is a member of Nativity and Bethlehem. And what have you done there, Ray?
I've been a member at Nativity for about 13 years now, and during that time I've spent a good many of my volunteer hours working with our youth. I started by being a mentor in our J2A program. I quickly joined our Nativity Youth Camp staff. Within a year or two, I was asked to take on the role as director, and I remain in that role today. About 5 or 6 years into my time at Nativity, I was asked if I would be willing to run for and join our vestry, and I spent 6 years on our vestry, 5 of which as the senior warden at Nativity. I am currently on our property committee. I am again a mentor in our J2A program, working with the oldest youth, the YAC group, the 17 and 18-year-old juniors and seniors in high school. I'm involved in our planned giving St. Matthew's Society effort. I helped with our capital campaign, and I think that just about covers it.
So you're one of those guys who proves that 20% of the people do 80% of the work in a church.
I think that's a fair assessment, yes.
So when you weren't doing that, though, how was your spiritual life developing?
I think it has developed well and probably at an accelerated rate the more I got involved. There was a period of time when I thought I might have reached overload, and I sought comfort in Eucharist. And in some cases, I actually would go to Eucharist twice in one weekend, expecting that perhaps I would get interrupted at one of the services. So if I went to one that was perhaps maybe a little bit more quiet, I'd have an opportunity to engage in the service, try and connect with God. So the busier that I became and the more involved that I became, the easier it became for me to connect with God.
So you chose to fill up rather than burn out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you were a senior warden for 5 years, and senior wardens have to do a lot with clergy. How did you find your own spiritual growth helping you to influence clergy?
Well, during the tenure, during my tenure as senior warden, the dean of the cathedral retired, and I went through as senior warden a search and call for a new dean and rector. And in that interim period of time, I had the great fortune of being able to work closely with Archdeacon Cluett. And he guided me and helped me very much in an understanding of how a senior warden, as well as pretty much everyone as a congregant, as a parishioner, can assist and connect with our clergy.
We often think of vestries as, sort of board of directors or something like that. My sense is at Nativity, the vestry has influence on the spiritual life of the congregation. Is that correct?
It is.
And can you say a bit about that?
The vestries that I've sat on, we always talked about the importance of our spiritual life, leading as leaders of the community, demonstrating that while we often focus on monetary issues, or we often focus on programmatic issues or bricks and sticks issues, that at the core of all of our lives is our spirituality and hope and desire that we all are all working to have a closer relationship with God. And I know that it was, for me, affirming that our vestries would intentionally set aside time for spirituality. We would celebrate Eucharist together. We would pray together. We would encourage each other to pray together. We thought it was important for us to be visible at celebrations of the Eucharist and other events in our church calendar year. So it was an intentional, and remains today, an intentional focus of the vestry to support each other in the development of our spiritual life as a way of setting an example, and also clearly we individually benefited.
Sure, thank you. Just to make this really practical, like a lot of our churches, in fact, probably like most of our churches, Nativity has had to retrench a little bit financially. How was making that decision a spiritual event for the vestry as you went through the difficult choices?
I think the knee-jerk reaction when you have to reduce budget is to look and say, what are the easiest things to cut out? And we spent a great deal of time talking about what makes nativity, and to think about the effect we would have if we were to curtail any of the ministries and missions of the church, and the impact that would have on our identity as nativity. We had to make very difficult choices about persons who are on salary, persons who are on staff, and I know that in doing so, we were very cautious to make sure that we never made decisions without having at least talked about the possibilities, identified what the choices were, and coming back another meeting, having left intending for all of us to pray about what the decisions that we were faced with.
So you made a business decision in a spiritual way.
Yes.
Who could ask for anything more? Ray, we were very grateful to have you represent us on a visit to Kajukeji. What was that like for you as a spiritual experience?
Bishop, I was also very, very grateful to be asked to represent Nativity and our diocese. And it is in visiting our brothers and sisters and seeing what Dean Pompa and I came to think of as an explosion of joy that you started to really take account of, what it is that God has laid before us. And I am, like many Americans, live what I would think is a very, very luxurious life. I've never once thought, where would I ever find water? Where would I ever find shelter? I was well cared for by my parents. I'm capable, and my wife is capable of us caring for ourselves and our children. And here I found myself in essentially the bush among people who those things are ever constant in their mind. Where will they find water? How much effort is there put into sustaining themselves, the sanitation issues that they deal with? And yet, at every moment of every day, it seemed as if joy literally exploded from everyone that I met. Mm-hmm. We live a wonderful existence here, but our brothers and sisters there live an equally wonderful existence, and it was an absolute joy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bishop.